bought myself a new welder ball. What? Hello everybody, I am Jack and this is my 92 Rx7. As you can see, there's something missing from here. The engine's currently out as I'm doing some work to it, rebuilding it to a much higher spec. So whilst it's out, what I've been doing is sorting out some of the rust issues, things that have gone wrong over the years with the car, bodge jobs from other people, other shops, other owners, I guess. And I'm now stitch welding the chassis, the body panels, to stiffen the whole car up and yeah, make it a bit stronger so it can take some real abuse. Judge me on my welds by all means. I know I'm not a very talented welder, but this is the way I've been doing it. I've basically been pulse welding it because I've been watching videos by people like Matt from Rx7, who's very good. If you haven't looked at his channel before, well worth checking him out. He really good engineer, real good welder, fabricator, and does sort of like an idiot's guide to things, which is exactly what I need. He recommends doing runs of welds. He's obviously a lot better at this kind of thing than I am. This takes a lot longer because obviously you have to start, stop. So it takes a long time, but it does get the job done and you don't burn as many holes. We've got some real English weather going on at the moment, and I did just put a new roof on my carport, thankfully. So I finished or stopped last night doing this as it was getting dark, and it's just been raining all night, all morning, and since then it's like, you know, I've got surface rust on everything. I've tested out a few of these welds, ground them back or whatever, and all seems real strong. Down here you can see some of the Mazda factory weld. So that's the way they do it in Japan. So I'm not really too worried about mine because they look better than that. As you can see, this car was originally silver before I sprayed it black. So what I've been doing is going around all of these seams, just with an old chisel that I sort of sharpened up a bit on my grinder, and going around and getting as much of this seam sealer off as I can, just with the chisel. Some of the other places it was a bit hard and I had to sort of use my hammer. Actually, in a few places like this, this is where the steering column goes down. This is also where the exhaust runs from the car, and you can see it's made it really rusty all in these areas. But all of this sealer here had gone real crusty, so as soon as I tapped that with a hammer, it just came off in big chunks, which was pretty pleasant really, because the rest of it's been a right bitch. As I've been getting through it with the chisel, scraping off as much as possible, I've been using a little screwdriver, which also sharpened up on my grinder, getting all the little bits and pieces, and also going around with things like these little wheels on the end of my drill there, and then different bits on my grinder, and just trying to get as much of that sealant out as possible. What you find is, as you start to weld, if you've still got some of that sealant in there, then it kind of it like blows back out of the seam and just spits your weld all over the place, and it doesn't want to take, and you're getting a right mess. So, as miserable as it is, you do have to try and get these things as clean as possible. I've been trying to shortcut it, as everyone sort of does, and it don't work. So, yeah, it's miserable, but you just kind of got to do it, and it takes forever, hours, and you bash up your knuckles, and it's horrible. But once it's done, it'll be pretty cool, and you really can notice the difference. If you like grab part of the chassis with your hand and give it a real good wobble, you can see the movement there. But then once you've welded it up, you grab that same piece and it is stiff. I mean, you can really notice the difference. It's not just one of those things that you think might help. It really, really does seem to help straight away, massively. So I'll just get through it and yeah, we'll see how we get on. So here's another piece of what I've been working on. Originally there was all metal in here. There was a piece that went across here, and this is where the pop-up headlight would sit. So what I've done is I removed all of this metal because I've got some Mishimoto twin oil coolers that go in here. They're on custom brackets, mounts, so I didn't need any of that stuff that's normally there. I also found I had real clearance issues with the wheels on all the metal there, so I just cut all of that out. All of these there was little brackets spot welded in here, so I've drilled out all of the spot welds using my spot weld drill bit from eBay. And then what you find is that you got things like this. I don't know how you can see that. So that should be attached, but of course it's a 28-year-old car, so things like that aren't attached. Up here, that's not attached, that's not attached. So all of these things I'm going to weld back together again. I'll just put some little tacks or a little bit of a stitch rod in there, and we'll get all that looking nice again, or at least stronger than it is now, because that's wobbling all over the place. And even little things like that will stiffen the whole structure up. And then around this side, actually what I found here was something really horrendous. As I was grinding back, there was a little tiny patch of rust just there. So I had the wire wheel on my grinder, and I just started taking that away, and then I noticed a load of body filler come flying out. And as I ground all this away, all of this was just full of body filler, and it was just full of holes. It was like a piece of Swiss cheese or something. I've got some photos of that I'll put up. Yeah, it's horrendous. I can believe that they covered that up. So so I went round here and I just used my piece of I got a piece of brass. So I got this piece of brass, and when I'm going to do a hole, so if I was going to do this hole here, you just back it up with that piece of brass behind there, and then you can weld, and the weld won't take to the brass. So you can back it up like that and build the holes back in, and yeah, it's actually come out amazingly well. So that's pretty good. That's a lot more solid now. But what I imagine what this came from is that this had quite a big impact on the front here at some point. You can see that all of this had been bashed in, and it's taken quite a heavy impact here. So what I did was I got in the back here with my sledgehammer and bashed it all back out, got it as straight as I could. But what you'll see is that a lot of these no, I can't get in there, but there's a lot of these spot welds have come undone. So along here, this should be all, there you go. So all of this should be welded together, but obviously has come apart. You can actually see light straight through there. So I'm going to get something behind here, knock this back together. Well, I'll clean this out first, and I'll knock this back together and then sort of weld this up and get that looking a lot better. This is the same as the other side. And then there's more atrocities in here. Obviously this is looking an absolute state. So I've got plenty of grinding and scraping and welding and all kinds of nice things to do. So here we go, I've got a nice little example of clearing the crap out of these things. So all of this joint here was absolutely smothered in the seam sealer. So I came along with my chisel and I've been scraping all of this away, and then I scraped all of this away, and then I've been going with my whizzy wheel. Been going with that. And I've been getting in here as good as I can and cleaning all of this up, both directions, all as good as I can. And then I've come along with my little screwdriver and I've just been banging this and prising this apart. So now I can get down into there, and I've picked out a load more of this crap. You can just see there's a little bit just there still. So I'll be prising all this apart, getting in there and getting that out. And then I'll go in there with my my whizzy wheel, and then I'll knock all of this flat again to get a real nice seam along there before I weld it up. And just sort of continue and do that just as good as I possibly can, absolutely everywhere.